on No Horsing Around family. Zach Boyd back at it again. Start a new career path, man. I've been busy, but I'm glad to get back on here and just talk Colts football, especially after that crazy, devastating loss that we had. Yeah, that Bucks game, it just deflated us. But you gotta move on, right? You gotta move forward. You gotta go to the next path. You gotta do whatever it takes to kind of get that bad taste out of your mouth, and move back in the right direction. And the good news is, guys, I mean, we have a real opportunity to win it, a very winnable game on the road against the Houston Texans. Obviously, that's what this is going to be. It's going to be Houston Texans centric when it comes down to it. We're going to talk about just a little bit of the game plan, but then moving forward, what does that look like? Like, what does it look like for the Indianapolis Colts and their position to have a chance to make the playoffs? And I'll just start here. Obviously, we'll do the first part, Houston Texans, and then we'll kind of get into maybe some playoff talk and a little bit of scenarios. Interested in anybody's thoughts, light us up in the comments, all of that good stuff. But what I would say is, the Texans, you just don't want one of those emotional games where you played so hard and you played well enough to win that you come back and you go on the road against a division opponent, and then you have a letdown. You just can't stand for that. That's just not the recipe. And that, honestly, that would probably just about end it for us as far as the season goes. You got to win these football games. These games are just so important at this moment in this juncture in the season. You've got to win these games, the winnable games. I mean, you talk about this game, you talk about the Jaguars game at the end of the season. Those two, bam, bam. There's your 8 wins, and then how are you going to find a way to get more wins, multiple wins as the season goes on, as you'll kind of group the next 3. You got the Raiders, you got the Cardinals, and you got the Patriots. I mean, 3 teams, and you're probably going to have to find a way to beat at least one of them. Probably 2. 2 gets you in, I think. So 4 and 1 gets you in. 3 and 2, you got to have a little help. But the big game for us, and the big, caveat is you have to beat the Raiders, because there's your tiebreaker, right? If it comes down to it and one person's playing for that last spot, you'd have the tiebreaker over a team like the Bills, who I expect to probably be in no matter what, but you got tiebreaker over the Bills. Then you'd have a tiebreaker over the Raiders. You'd have a little bit better AFC record when it comes on to it. Oh, there's Lawrence. I'll say what's up. Lawrence just finished his live stream. He came on over to check out what we're doing. I just did an impromptu, Lauren. I did a live video. Just didn't feel like pre-recording it. Just wanted to go ahead and just get it out, blast it on YouTube. Lawrence, so you're on here. You just finished your live stream. Give me the number one thing that has to happen for the Indianapolis Colts to beat the Texans this week. I'll wait for you to respond, and I'll kind of talk as far as that goes. But, I always love Lawrence's interaction. I love his takes. If you haven't checked out his show, you guys got to hop over there. As soon as you get done doing this, hop over there, check him out. He puts a lot of effort. Him and Colts Loyalists, I really like Loyalists as well. They do a good job of putting in the effort and really giving you knowledgeable, great insight into the Indianapolis Colts. Those are guys that are just waking up and just talking about football with knee-jerk reaction. Those are guys who have really, kind of started to try to master their craft and understand the game. And that's why I like them so much, because I kind of see the game the same way that they see the game. Getting back into it, you've got Tyrod Taylor. I think it looks like he'll be okay. It's not a good football team, and you just got to go out there and win. I think in games like this, the biggest thing for me is just literally just go out there and just put your foot on their throat from the beginning. I mean, that's it. I mean, I think that you just got to go out there and put your foot on their throat and go ahead and just give them no chance, no shot. Because as the game goes on, teams that aren't supposed to win football games, as it goes on and they're in the middle of those games, then they start looking around. They start saying to themselves, hey, why not us? Why can't we do it? Lawrence chimes in and says, no turnovers and run the ball versus a 31st run defense. I think that's a good place to start, especially when you have the best running back in the NFL. Just hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor, which would probably cut down on turnovers, I would think. I'm interested, Lawrence, while you're on here, and I know you don't have a lot of time. You've been busy tonight. The Colts got to go 4-1 or 3-2 to make the playoffs. That's a question that I'm kind of, going through as we're going to do this, and we're just going to talk about just a few odd things as we record live here. Is it 3-2? Is it 4-1? What do you guys think? You guys can comment. If you watch this even after the live recording, we'd love to hear your insight as far as what you think that the Indianapolis Colts have to do. What's the magic number? I say that you have to, no matter what, you have to beat the winnables. You have to beat the Texans. You have to beat the Jaguars, and you're going to have to beat the Raiders. That's bare minimum. Like there's your 9 wins, and there's maybe because you have, the tiebreaker over the Raiders now, maybe that gets you in. But that being said, 4-1, I feel like if you go 4-1, I think you're in. I just think it's that simple. I don't think there's any other way around it, because what we got to realize is now, guys, Justin chimes in and says 4 wins. Very good point, man. I mean, Justin, who do they get the win? So if they're going to beat the Raiders, if they're going to beat the Jags, if they're going to beat the Texans, where does that 4th win come? Does it come against the Patriots? Does it come against the Cardinals? I mean, that's a really good question. Maybe you have a day where you can catch a rookie quarterback playing like a rookie quarterback. I sure the hell don't seem like it right now. I mean, that guy is on fire. Bill Belichick is wanting to prove to the world that he's just as big of a legend and an icon in the NFL as Tom Brady is. That would be what a thing that would be if those two ended up in there. Pats just gave up 250 rushing yards to 2 nobody running backs. Taylor should do pretty well against them. So yeah. I mean, Justin thinks it still might require a tiebreaker at 4. I don't see that, because if you really go through the teams that matter, and there's about 4 other teams that kind of group in there with us, they all play each other. So somebody's going to cancel each other out when it's all said and done. When you got that North fighting for it, the West is still fighting for it. I think the East is pretty much a 2-horse race. I mean, you got the Patriots, you got the Bills. That's probably settled. Those 2 teams will probably make the playoffs no matter what. I think that the Chiefs will start to kind of go this way as the season's gone. I know it's been a little bit crazy. Lawrence said you need to beat the Pats and the Raiders. I can't argue with that, Lawrence. I mean, that's a very, very valid point. I would also have to say that, I think the Browns are one of those teams that they're just going to be they're going to be the war of attrition is going to probably wear them down when it's all said and done. If we go deeper as the season goes, we're going to take a deep dive, especially after this Sunday. We're going to look in that bye week. The No Horsing Around podcast. So we'll start talking about, what are these schedules from these teams who are actually in it, in the Final Four. Who has the best chance? Who has the toughest schedule? I'll tell you, if you go look at the Raiders got a pretty tough schedule, tough sledding. And one thing that, because we get the late bye week, we get to sit out that week and let every other team play. So some teams are going to lose no matter what that week, and it's going to help us. Even though we're not playing that week, it's going to actually help us. It's a little bit of a hindrance because we've already played more games than everybody else. So some teams have got less weeks, so less losses, kind of like the Steelers, as far as that goes. But, man, it's going to be a hell of a game. It's going to be a hell of an ending to our season. We're going to see what the Indianapolis Colts are all about. Expect maybe some guys to not play this week. I don't know if DeForest Buckner is going to give it a go. That guy got pretty banged up. He gutted it out. He played his heart out, honestly. Man, against the Bucs. He played so good. Eric Fisher was limited today. I don't know. A lot of birds out there saying, what about Matt Pryor on the left side? I don't know if I agree with that. I think when it comes down to it, I think Fisher's still a pretty good run blocker. He just lacks explosion because of that injury that he took last year. I'm not making excuses for him. I just think that they're probably going to roll with Fisher, no matter what the fan base thinks about it, I think for better or for worse. Justin says, Arizona can move the ball. The game could be a shootout. I think that's pretty fair. Arizona, they're a team that can be beat. They're a beatable football team. But I think that's looking a little bit far down the road. I think you got to handle business this weekend. You rest up, and then you get right back in to, you get right back into that big matchup, that Saturday night, December 18th matchup against the Patriots, which is going to be a big turning point for our season. I really believe that. Hey, Brooks, shout out to my brother, man. He hopped on here and checked it out. I want to give him a big shout out real quick. So that being said, I would think that you also are going to have to – you're going to have a little bit of help. You're going to want the right teams winning. And I think at this point, let's see. Lawrence says Fisher's playing left tackle better than 25 other left tackles in the league right now. You see him give up a sack, every 3 games, and it blows up on social media. Probably fair, especially, Lawrence, when he goes against elite guys. I mean, a lot of people lose to Shaq Barrett, if we're being fair. I mean, a lot of people, really good left tackles. He does struggle. He does struggle against those real athletic guys just because he just can't get that explosiveness back. We all want people to fight back and hurry back and get on the field, and that's what he did. And now he got back on the field, and he's playing when he's a little bit limited. He's probably more like 80-85%. Maybe he never gets it back. I don't know. I don't know what that type of injury is going to do to him and for his career. I guess the bigger question would you keep him another year in a year where you've got a left tackle need? Either A, you can re-sign him. I guess he's technically there for 2 years. I think that was more like a salary cap deal, but you can go out and find somebody in free agency, or you can draft one. I don't know, man. Or would you entertain the idea of having Matt Pryor as a pseudo 1 year left tackle until you got a chance to actually pick in the first round? And that was my only gripe in the draft. I mean, I like Kwity Paye. I think Kwity Paye is progressing nicely. I think I don't ever think Kwity will be a dominant, 15 sack a year type of guy, but I think he'll turn into be a pretty solid pass rusher. Has great work ethic. He has all of the skills. He's just not quite. He's never going to be a volume producer, in my opinion. He's going to put a lot of pressure on quarterbacks, but actually getting them down on the ground, I don't know that he's going to be. I don't know that he's ever going to be a double digits year in and year out. He'd be a great number 2 pass rusher, in my opinion, if you could really go out and find just an electric number 1. That was my only gripe, probably not taking a left tackle in the first round when you really needed one, and then doubling down in the second round and taking Dial almost as a luxury pick. But let's just hope that Chris Ballard is just like he normally is and smarter than the rest, and it all plays out in the next year or two, and we see those guys doing very, very well. Lawrence says, I doubt there will be a good starting left tackle to 64th pick. I would 100% agree with that statement. I think that you're probably going to either have to try and sign Fisher back for 1 more year and just deal with it. Because from a run blocking standpoint, I still think you can say he's still got it. I think that's fair. And probably deal with some of his limitations, and he probably will be a healthier version next year, if we're being honest. A full offseason to rest, getting back, working on explosiveness. Maybe you just go back and sign him for 1 more year. I don't know what Chris Ballard's going to do. Nothing that Chris Ballard's done to this point says to me that, hey, I'm going to go out and spend a lot of money for a left tackle. Nothing says that, but you never know. Sometimes nothing also said that he would go trade for a guy like DeForest Buckner either, and he did it. So every once in a while, he goes out there and does something a little bit against the grain. It's probably my only gripe with Chris Ballard is he's not quite active enough. I've never been the type of guy to want you to go out and sign a bunch of players like Ryan Grigson did. You just buy every damn person in the NFL. But I always said, look, when we go into the offseason, we go into free agency, and if we have the money and we have the cap and we have the ability to do that and the flexibility to do that, let's pick a few players 3 or 4 players, and let's say we're going to get one. We're not gonna pigeonhole ourselves into just one guy to where we get in this crazy bidding war. But let's go in a situation and let's get ourselves in a scenario where we've got about 4 guys that we really, really like, and we say we're going to walk away from this free agency class with one of these 4 guys, however it falls, and you just go out there and you make a move. And yes, you're going to overpay for a free agent. Yes, people are gonna criticize you. Yes, you're gonna take a chance of signing a guy and a guy not living out to his contract. All things could be true. But that being said, this hybrid league that we live in, where these teams are starting to sign players a little bit more in the offseason, really working to move up and down the NFL draft. I feel like that's probably the next phase for Chris Ballard if he wants to take it to the next step and accelerate this process. I hate the thought of wasting Jonathan Taylor, Darius Leonard, DeForest Buckner, Michael Pittman, all these good young players, Braden Smith, Ryan Kelly. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of really good young players. I hate the thought of slowly rebuilding while you've got these players. Quentin Nelson, how the hell could I forget him? Carson Wentz, even if you want to throw him in there. Lawrence, I'm interested. Are you, if you're still on here, are you surprised that Chris Reed didn't play very much in this game? Did you think that was the right decision? Do you think they should have split it a little bit more? Because he had been playing. He kind of been out snapping Glowinski a little bit. But he didn't get a whole lot of run this week. What's your thoughts on that? You guys can let us know just your thoughts, your feedback of how you feel about. Justin did say that DeForest says he plans on playing this week. I think they all plan on playing this week. I sure hope he does, man, because we're a heck of a lot better defense with him on the field. The guy's incredible. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone get double teamed more than him. I mean, it's every single time pretty much. And well, when you decide to go single against him and not double team him, he usually wins, and he usually affects the game by batting the ball down, getting a sack, getting his hands on a quarterback, or making a play in the backfield. He's just that special. Beating the Texans, it's real simple. You just run the ball, chunk plays, use the pass. To really get down the field, draw pass interferences. You can really exploit them there. And then just never let them get comfortable. From day one, from minute one, from moment one, just never let them get comfortable. And come out of that game with a win and hope that your health is okay and rest up for that final push, man. Lawrence said he's not surprised. Gave up some pressures in that first quarter on the delayed bits, and the one thing, he is slow on seeing delayed blitzes, and the Bucs do a lot of that. So Lawrence thinks it was a good decision to play Glow. I'm torn on that one, honestly. I think Chris Reed, all in all, is probably a little bit better lineman, personally. If I had to, but it's a flip a coin. I mean, you're getting almost the same out of them. I think Chris Reed is definitely a little bit better of a run blocker. Glowinski might be a little bit better in the pass blocking game, but he's a guy that really struggles with twist stunts and athletic guys as well. Glowinski does struggle in those big moments. But hey, that being said, I think you've got 2 quality guys who are worthy of starting. You're probably almost one and the same. And good for Frank Reich. He saw something. He wanted to go in a different direction. He wanted to, he felt like the hot hand was Glowinski. And, I think we can't lose sight of the fact that we moved the ball very well against the Bucs, man. I mean, turnovers, and probably one of the worst games I've seen Zach Pascal ever play. Maybe the worst game. I don't know. I mean, have you guys ever seen a worse game from Zach Pascal? He's usually pretty reliable. He's every once in a while in his career, he's struggled with maybe a drop that you're like, oh my gosh, man, he just dropped it. But normally he comes back and bounces back pretty well. He didn't do that. He started off with a fumble, and he just seemed to just not be in sync. And I don't know if that's a matter of him really not getting a lot of opportunities from Carson this year, or if his head's just not in the game, or if it was just one of those bad games. He says, I like both of them for their prices. I'd keep them both. Probably can play maybe $10 million for 2 guards. And I don't disagree with that, Lawrence. Not even a little bit, man. Not even a little bit. I think that is a very, very good take. The only thing and the only gripe I would have is, and I'd be interested to know anybody's thoughts and opinions, I'd like for Chris to sign one of them to 2 years. Let's not do this every single year. Let's give ourselves an opportunity to have that solidified for a couple of years, and then maybe go in there and pick somebody up, develop them, bring them up, but you're not under the gun, as far as that goes. And Lawrence, you're right, man. That depth on that offensive line is, it's paramount, dude. You've got seven. I guess you've got 7 guys who can really play offensive line for you. Pryor's been a pleasant surprise. He's really been good when he's had to play. What else do you want from a guy, coming in, basically trade him for a 6th-round pick, and you get him in a 7th-round pick, and you did pretty well. I'd say in that trade, you 100% won that trade. He's done well, man. He's a road grader over there on that right side. He can really, really move some people off that pile. So, yeah, I'd keep those 7 intact probably next year, because I just don't think that you're going to be able to get the type of lineman that you need for the next, 5-6 years. Be ideal to go ahead and find maybe a cornerback in that 2nd round this year, because you certainly need depth there. Probably wouldn't hurt at some point in this draft to take a flyer on a wide receiver. You still really need somebody else to kind of step in. You might go supplemental in free agency and go get somebody else as well. But geez, man, the arrow's pointing up for our team. If we can just pull it all together here, moving forward, are we staying with? Are we good with the Money Badger? Or are we going to give Hot Rod a chance to come and compete next year? What do we think on that? Does everybody want Hot Rod to come back and have a chance to redeem himself and win his job? Or are you thinking, hey, this Badger guy's not too bad. This Badger guy's making kicks. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He certainly doesn't. The ball doesn't necessarily pop off of his leg, but it's accurate. He's been able to really, really kind of hone that in, and been one of the more consistent parts of our team, since he's been a part of it. So it's really nice to see that. Expect the Colts to be 7-6 after they play the Texans. I expect our defense to come out and get after it. You got to get Tyrod down. He can use his legs a little bit. He's a veteran. Not a lot to be scared of, man, honestly. I just don't think that they have a lot of fight left in them this year. As far as the Texans go, I think we should win, and we should win easily, even if it's on the road. Go out there, play pissed off, run the ball down their throats, and get out there with the win, and get out there, more importantly, without any injuries, man. Geez, you just don't want to get injured, and you want to have that whole week to rest up, especially down this stretch. Lawrence wants Hot Rod. He was kicking 65-yarders from practice, and, he had issues with that hip, and you're exactly right. But I think the one knock on Hot Rod, which might be unfair this year, the game he got hurt, he missed those field goals, and the field goal and the extra point. He was kicking pretty good, and he's right. He worked really hard on his body to be able to kick that ball, and that ball definitely popped off his leg this year a whole lot differently than Badgley, if we're being honest. But Badgley has been really accurate, man. He doesn't flash. He doesn't kick the ball, and you're like, oh my gosh, he's out here shredding the football. But it's just going through the uprights, and that's really all you want. That's all that really matters. I don't know. I say the Colts bring them both back and have a competition next year. I think they'll give him a shot to redeem himself, but I don't think unless Badgley does something uncharacteristic, I don't think Badgley's going to lose a job this year. I think they're just going to let it ride and just let it go and move on. Went over 35. Let's see. Badgley's history says he goes up and down from year to year, went over 35. So maybe inconsistent. He doesn't. Maybe he doesn't possess what it takes to be, this upper echelon kicker. My question would be, and we haven't really seen it, when it's a 50-yard plus field goal, is Badger going to be able to hit those on a consistent basis? Game on the line. Who do you feel better about? You feel better marching Hot Rod out there or Badgley? That might answer your question right there. Fuzzy says, man, he should get a shot, man. Blige has looked really good, but he should get a shot. I tend to agree. I mean, let him go out there. Let's see. Crazy stat. When JT goes over 100 yards and 20-plus carries, Colts have not lost anything yet. As Carson Wentz, his career is 25-7 when he gets 35 or less few throws, 16-30, 16-30-1 when not. So, I mean, that tells you right there. You run the football, you don't turn the football over, and you're probably going to win most games if you're an Indianapolis Colt. That's just the way it's going to go. That's probably the way it's going to go for any team. I don't know if anybody has a bigger weapon at running back right now. I mean, the man really wasn't utilized at all for a large period of time and still ended up with over 80 yards. I mean, he just ran the ball all the way down the field, in the fourth quarter, which was huge for us. You got to feed them, man. I mean, you just got to keep on giving them the ball. It was really, really rough on us with 9, dropping that punt. That was a backbreaker too. I mean, gosh dang. It's happened twice this year, so it's something to monitor. Is he going to be back there taking kicks for the rest of the year? Are they going to give that responsibility to somebody else? That's right, Reed. Run the damn ball, run the damn ball, run the damn ball, and keep on running the damn ball. There you go. That's right, Reed. We got to go out there. And I'll tell you another thing. I don't know how you guys feel, but the way that Taylor can receive, I think he's a very good weapon. I don't think we use him quite often enough in the receiving game. I mean, come on. Yeah, Isaiah back there. My man almost took it all the way back to the house with 20 seconds left. I mean, that place was going to erupt. That close, man. That close to taking it back to the house. Yeah, they might go ahead and get him back there. They might go ahead and give him a shot. I don't know if he has a lot of history doing that. But you got to get somebody back there. If nothing else, just call fair catches and catch the football. You just can't turn it over anymore. Crucial big games like that. It's the difference between winning and losing, man. I mean, that's just the difference between winning and losing. You're going to go out there. You're going to try to win football games. Well, you better hold on to the football. You better protect that football. We all know how valuable that is. But I'm going to throw a prediction up there. I actually think the Indianapolis Colts are going to win 38-17 on the road. I think they'll come out and they'll play pretty impressive. Might be some garbage time touchdowns going on with that shell, cover 2 that we'll play at the end. But I think we win pretty easily. Like we always do, like, rate, review, share, subscribe, join the No Horsing Around family. We're so happy to have every one of you guys interact with us. It means the world to us. Great seeing Reed on here tonight on this live stream. We hadn't done it for a while. So I thought, you know what? Let's just do it, man. Let's just hop on here. Let's not announce it. Let's just get on here and talk ball. Until then, I love you. Steven loves you. Colts Nation loves you. And we're out.